America, then very simply they should have to pay a tariff, which will bring in trillions of dollars.
The United States, by removing all of Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods specifically covered.
Tariffs will remain in place until the U.S. tariffs are withdrawn, and not a moment
Senate
soon.
versus tariffs. Tensions are running high in the U.S. Senate. Lawmakers are debating two resolutions aimed at limiting the president's authority over trade policy. Senators, not only Democrats, but also a faction of Republicans, argue that tariffs don't protect American workers. Instead, they undermine the country's export potential. One senator put it bluntly, America can no longer afford to fight its allies as if they were enemies. And indeed, the focus is on Canada and Mexico, Washington's closest partners under NAFTA. For viewers, this is important because it highlights the deep divide within America itself. When even Trump's own party is split, it shows that tariff policy is no longer seen as a solution, but rather as a threat to the U.S. economy. Supreme Court steps in. The U.S. Supreme Court has scheduled hearings for November. The key question: did Donald Trump have the authority to impose tariffs without Congress, using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEPA? Legal experts say this case could mark a turning point in American political history. If the court rules that Trump exceeded his powers, it would set a precedent. Future presidents would no longer be able to wield tariffs so freely. This isn't just a legal technicality. It's about who truly makes the nation's economic decisions, Congress or the president. And if the balance shifts, Trump could go down as the last leader to use tariffs as a personal weapon in a trade war. New tariffs on the horizon. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Commerce is considering new tariffs on imported auto parts. Ford and General Motors are immediately at risk, as both rely heavily on supply chains from Canada and Mexico. Billions of dollars in losses and thousands of jobs are on the line. Economists warn, if these tariffs are implemented, ordinary Americans will feel the impact within months. Car prices will rise while new jobs will disappear. In reality, tariffs act less like a tax on foreign companies and more like a tax on American consumers themselves. And that's the paradox. A policy meant to protect workers could end up hurting them instead. Canada responds differently, but the most interesting developments are happening across the border. As of September 1, Canada has lifted nearly all of its retaliatory tariffs against the U.S., keeping only three key sectors: steel, aluminum, and automobiles. Instead of continuing the trade war, Ottawa took another step, announcing the creation of a steel modernization fund worth more than $1 billion. The money will be invested in green technologies, producing steel through direct reduced iron, DRI, and electric arc furnaces, EAF, powered by hydropower. In this way, Canada is turning crisis into opportunity. While Washington keeps playing the old tariff game, Ottawa is building a new model: green steelmaking, competitive in a world where carbon standards are quickly becoming the norm. Economic impact on Canada and the U.S. There's no doubt tariffs have already hurt Canada. According to Scotiabank, the country lost up to 1.1% of its GDP due to Trump's tariffs. But what's more important is how Canada adapted. Today, its steelmakers have gained access to premium European Union markets thanks to the introduction of a carbon passport. And this is where the real turning point appears. The U.S. is losing markets by sticking to an outdated approach, while Canada gains an edge, selling not just steel, but clean steel, which is in high demand across the West. So, tariffs are once again taking center stage. In the U.S., a political storm is unfolding. The Senate is pushing for change, and the Supreme Court is preparing a historic ruling. In Canada, we see a different path. Not escalation, but modernization and a focus on clean technology. Donald Trump, even when out of office, still casts a long shadow over this story. His tariffs were designed to protect American workers, but today they raise questions about the future of U.S. industry itself. North America now faces a choice: continue down the road of trade disputes or recognize that the tariff era is fading and the future will belong to those who can adapt.